Hello, I'm Shirley. Huawei just released this annual report 2020. I'd like to walk you through some of the key components, including some of my own thoughts. Huawei's actions in 2020 were spectated globally under a magnifying glass. As JFK once said, it was perhaps no less a significant mixture of tragedy and triumph. U.S. sanctions have cut off two critical supplies to Huawei's business. One is the Google Android operating system. The other is the chips, particularly the most advanced chips that Huawei's smartphone devices need. Huawei probably never anticipated that the world in 2020 would move into a deglobalization phase, and it does have its Achilles heel. Now, according to Huawei, 6 billion of Huawei's global smartphone users are currently unable to access the Google Android operating system. When Huawei debuted its latest smartphone model in 2020, it was quite a tragic moment because at the same time, the company announced the swan song for this latest model as well due to the inability to supply the chips. And it was almost like a mother seeing off her child. So as a result, in later 2020, Huawei spun off the lower-end smartphone brand Honor to a Chinese consortium in order for this brand to continue to integrate into the global smartphone manufacturing processes. Huawei launched its own operating system, the Harmony OS, and Huawei does need to bring the apps to the operating system, and it also needs to perfect the software and operating elements, and all of which takes time. With a profound industry disruption, Huawei's 2020 looked fundamentally different from its 2019. There are some key shifts. Number one, it's quickly transformed itself from a hardware supplier, the 5G base stations, equipment, fiber, smart devices, etc., to a global intelligent solutions provider. The rapid expansion of the 5G infrastructure has empowered massively the rise of AIs and the cloud computing capabilities, which further empowers the world to begin to imagine all things being connected. We saw Huawei quickly rose in the AI and the cloud capabilities in 2020, and as the company called it, the intelligent twins. Intelligent solutions can cut across many industries. AI and the cloud services can now direct the industry's manufacturing and the distribution processes, and indeed a fundamental feature of the fourth industrial revolution. Huawei predicts that 97% of all large companies globally will adopt AI before 2025, and it might happen even faster in the consumer space. And we'll begin to see in the consumer space very quickly autonomous driving, smart healthcare, smart education, financial services, smart city development. Huawei has expanded itself in 2020 into this AI and the cloud space, the intangible world, essentially in the future to compete head-on with Google, Amazon, and including China's own Alibaba. In 2020, Huawei has shocked the world when it announced that it moved into raising pigs intelligently. It now supplies the intelligent operating systems that are used for electric vehicles. And also in 2016 and over the years, it's built its financial technology services. This was the most prominent growth areas in Huawei, and indeed, I think the most exciting component of Huawei's 2020 annual report. Secondly, Huawei's smartphone division will continue to suffer given the persistent shortage of the two critical supplies as mentioned earlier. Huawei spun off the low-end Honor brand, and I think personally, Huawei can even spin off the high-end Huawei brand if it need be, given the persistent sanctions. Letting go of a brand in order for it to grow is actually a much better solution than letting it wither. But this, of course, are just my personal opinions. Smartphone will eventually become a low-end competitive device market, just like what TV used to be. Future competitive edge really lies in the soft elements. Huawei's Harmony operating system will be important to watch in 2021. But let me tell you two prominent reasons why Huawei's Harmony operating system deserves close watching. For reason one, there is always an innate technological advantage for the tech latecomers in the sense that they don't have to deal with the legacy infrastructures. They don't have to disrupt themselves in order to burst the new. Huawei's operating system came at this very important historical juncture. Huawei's operating system is designed and must be designed in a way that is not only applicable to a smart handheld device. And it's going to be extremely powerful when all things are connected on a common language that is built within a common operating system. Huawei itself calls it the 1+8+N world. The N means the infinite possibility of connecting all things. In order to fit into this IoT world, the Android operating system will have to be upgraded very rapidly. However, this is one of the drawbacks that comes from every great success. It is very difficult to disrupt something that works so greatly for so long. And so how long is it going to take, and how hard Google is willing to revolutionize itself? That is something that I think the world will hugely anticipate as well. In that Internet of Things era, we're thinking about all the connected smart devices will be possibly millions and millions of times more than all the devices that are connected to this digital world currently. So this is opening up for a huge wave of opportunities for technological developments in the software operating system space, not only for Huawei, I think possibly for many others, because the incremental growth of the market demand is just so enormous that's possibly not going to be satisfied just by the existing players themselves. And the second prominent reason is that China's smartphone manufacturers collectively supply more than 50% of the global smartphones market today. Huawei's Harmony operating system will indeed gain a natural competitive edge in the global marketplace, given the most likely scenario that the other Chinese smartphone manufacturers will most likely support the Chinese operating system in a substantial way. Number three, on the chips, Huawei admits that the US sits at the top of the global technological zenith. Mr. Lin Zhofei described that China is only benefiting from the trickles of the water that flew from the top. Let me talk about a fundamental shift globally. Huawei's rotating chairman explained in its annual report that due to the US sanctions, and in order to supply this huge chip market demand by China, global chip manufacturers are beginning to remove US chip technologies from their own manufacturing processes in order to supply China. So this US sanctions not only affects Huawei and US chip manufacturers in a fundamental way, it does alter decision-making processes, essentially at every level of the global chip supply chain. News just came, ARM from the UK can currently supply its license of the ARM V9 chip design to Huawei. And this is due to the fact that ARM has removed the US technologies from this particular chip design. Other chip makers globally will slowly adjust to the global demand and the US take components in their manufacturing processes as well. This is a long, painful adjustment process globally. In the Huawei's 2020 annual report, we continue to see that Huawei invests more heavily into research and development and securing global talents. Huawei invested 15.9% of its 2020 revenue in R&D, and it recruited some 3,000 employees amidst the crisis. And number four, on the carrier business, particularly the 5G business, it'll continue to expand rather successfully in the developing world. And of course, that's subject to the chip sustainability as well. Huawei continues to build its 5G prominence in the Middle East, its expansion in ASEAN regions, and it continues to develop telecom infrastructures in Africa with submarine cables covering both coasts of Africa. These infrastructure developments will be crucial in fostering digital applications, the digital economy, AI applications, and industrial transformations in this ubiquitous connectivity world, and all of which are built on the foundations of a very robust telecom infrastructure network, which the developing world very much aspire for. I think 2021 for Huawei will be no less eventful, certainly, than 2020, living through many metamorphoses at the same time. And I think Huawei will continue to drive to two polar ends of its industrial capacity. On the very top end, it'll continue to drive its capacity in the intelligent and intangible world, delivering AI and the cloud solution to empower the global transformation of industries. It'll at the same time move deep down into the mathematics and the physics world, into basic science, in order to build this very hardcore capability in its chip manufacturing.